All right, so let's go ahead and look at number 2. So number 2 says evaluate the expression. All right, so it's got log, and how we would say this is that we would say log base 5 of 125. So log base 5 of 125. This is another kind of way of saying 5 to the what power makes 125. All right, well, we can do some mental math with this. So let me kind of maybe show you the long way first, and then we'll kind of come back and see kind of the shortcut way of it. First of all, logarithms are just another way to write exponents, and we'll see a little bit further on in this review where you would use logarithms and when. But just kind of our first problem talking about logarithms here in this review is logarithms are just another way to write exponents. You're used to seeing it, if you look over here on the right side, you're used to seeing things written in exponential form, where you have a base to some exponent equal to some number, right? Like 2 cubed equals 8, right? So you're used to seeing something that looks like that. So what we want to do is we want to rewrite this. It could be in logarithmic form, right, which it is now. We want to be able to rewrite this in the way that we're used to seeing it. So what ends up happening is that you first of all see that it says equals and then some number, and then you're like, well, I don't see the equals up there. Well, so we don't know what it's equal to, or at least that's what we're trying to figure out. So let's just say it's equal to x, right, because we're trying to figure out what it's equal to. So let's just try to figure out what it is equal to. And what this says, and just maybe kind of a little trick to remember this, is bin and Benny. Bin is in exponential form, base exponent number. Benny, B-N-E, is in logarithmic form. So right now, log base 5 of 125 is written in logarithmic form. Benny, we want it to look like bin, base exponent number. Well, bin and Benny both start with B, meaning that the base stays the same. So our base in this case is 5. And then, real easy here, what you notice happens between Benny and bin, the base is the first number on the left, that stays the same. It's these other two things that switch places. So what ends up happening is that this is going to come over and be our exponent, and then this number is going to switch places and go to the other side. So now this says 5 to the what power makes 125. Okay, well this looks a little more familiar to us. This idea of writing it in logarithmic form is a little bit new. I think we could probably get it from here. What we could do is that we've rewritten it in exponential form, which is where we are now. Similar to the last problem, we can rewrite these with like bases, because what I could say here is I could say 5 to the x equals, and I think, well, okay, 5 to the what power makes 125. So I know that 5 times 5 is 25, and then if I multiplied that by another 5, I get 125. So that would be 5 to the 1, 2, 3, right, third power. So I could rewrite this as 5 to the third power, and just like what we did in the last one where we said, okay, well, if you got the bases the same, then you could just set them equal to each other. Well, so we could do that here too, is that what I would have would be just x equals 3. Now, you could have just, from here, you could have said 5 to the what power makes 125, 3, right? X equals 3. So you didn't necessarily need to take this extra step right here. If it makes sense to you, do it. Otherwise, this is really something that could be done mentally. With that said, if we go back to the very initial problem here, is that what we want to be able to do, kind of going forward, is solve logarithms, simple ones like this mentally, where we just say, okay, base of 5. So it's basically saying 5 to the what power makes 125. Well, 5 to the third power. So really, I could have solved this without even really doing any of this work, right? But this is kind of the background of how we would end up with that answer, right? All right. So take a moment, stop the video here, and try number 2 on the right side.